Yes, good morning. Thank you, John, for the reminder. I started talking. I just want to say good morning and welcome to the second webinar on the Program Director's Toolkit. Kiss? Okay, we can kiss the first 90 days. And I'm going to turn over the first part of the webinar to Wayne. Wayne, please jump in. Wayne, are you there?
I forgot to unmute. I was
Yes.
chatting away and nobody's hearing anything.
And we need to go to the second slide so that we're ready. Okay, thank you.
So as we start going down through the webinar, we got a few just quick instructions, and John covered some of this stuff, but we want to get your name and your job title, your program name, and then if you'll just type in your tribe's greeting, that would be awesome. We like to keep everything we do in a cultural content. We like to get everybody's culture involved. That's what our programs are all about. So if you could just share those tribes greetings, that'd be great. Go ahead and go to the next slide, John. So just some general guidelines. As you heard earlier, when we were trying to talk, we need you guys to talk one at a time. If you can't get in, because I get long-winded and I talk a lot, just enter it in the comment box. Suzanne and John are both reviewing those and can get those questions out as we go along. If you have any questions, comments, and recommendations, please, if you can break in and stop me so I don't chatter too long, I'd love to hear those questions and get that interaction with all the people involved on the call today. And then we do want to allow time to share at the end of the webinar. So we do have some time for questions. We'll make sure that we have that. And then we also have an evaluation at the end of the webinar for you guys to fill out and give us feedback on our presentation and on our information that we provide. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to slide 4. And we're going to go through the agenda real quick. We have some polling questions. We want to cover some learning outcomes, and then we're going to cover the purpose of the program director's kit the first 90 days. We're going to look at accessing the state section, the federal section, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the talking circle. And then of course we have the awesome end of event valuation. So John, we're going to go ahead and let you roll into your polling questions.
I have I have Leanne that from Hoopa that gave us, sorry, just could you say hello in your tribal language, please?
Heyang, Himalio.
Thank you. Okay, John, sorry for the interruption.
No problem. What you will see on your screen are our AIVRTTAC polling questions. If you could just kind of scroll through those, choose an answer, and then submit at the bottom. We'll be able to look at the information later. Thank you.
John, Sharon Patterson, her screen is too big and not able to see everything. So I'm thinking, could you give that advice again, or?
Yeah, no problem. At the top of your screen, if you bring your cursor up, you'll see a little drop-down menu that says View Options. Click on that drop-down and you can exit full screen. Tell us how everything is, Sharon.
And while Sharon's doing that, Winona, would you say hello in Navajo? Say it again. Thank you. Sharon, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Were you able to take John's instructions and get your screen, everything small?
Yes, I put it at 50%. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So is everybody answering?
Yep, it looks like we have about 13 of 30 people. can share some.
I just closed mine, right, John?
Yeah, you can submit at the bottom, and
Okay.
then it'll populate our polling questions.
Even though
And we
I'm,
can kind of move on from here
Okay,
after
okay.
after submit the polling questions disappear.
okay. Go ahead. Sorry. Was that you, Wayne?
Yeah. Actually, Suzanne, we're going to roll into your slide. So I'll let you start chatting. Oh, hold
Okay.
on. We just got something. It's some of the people, John, are struggling. It's not letting them submit.
Interesting. I was able to submit on my side screen. We can just move on if just maybe go back and check and see if you had selected a question. There might be an error at the top.
Make sure that you click on each one of the little dots so that might help. And in the meantime, I will now talk about our learning outcomes.
Okay.
And what we're seeing is that upon completion of the webinar, you will be able to, and if you're not, you need to contact us, and so we can keep strengthening your ability to access our website. So the learning outcome for number 1 is demonstrate how to navigate the state and federal sections of the toolkit. Learning objective 2 is describe how to access information in the federal toolkit, such as a letter of assurance, an ED 524B report package, and an ED 524B executive summary. Learning objective 3, explain the role of RSA as related to Avers programs and when you should contact your RSA project officer with questions. So you really you have questions and you really want to make them good questions. So they're really busy and you're busy. Learning objective 4, apply the information provided in the toolkit to improve your relationship with the state VR agency. Learning objective 5, explain how you will use the toolkit to improve or enhance your Avers programs. And learning objective 6, describe the components required in the Avers 6-month performance report. And I keep going back and forth between outcomes and objectives because we used to call them objectives. They're the same, yes? Learning outcome 7, demonstrate where to find information on the client assistant program. Next, we want to look at what is the purpose of the federal and state toolkit. And it's to provide, and we're on the next slide. Thank you, John. It's to provide assistance on understanding the key components of effectively leading your Avers program. To serve as a reference for directors and program managers. You know, you're in the heat of something and you don't know where to go and you don't know what to do. We're hoping, we think we've covered everything where you could just go to this toolkit and find what you need. And if you don't, you need to let us know. The next thing would be to erase the stress of managing an Avers program in remote tribal communities. And you all experience that from time to time. You're working with 3 governments, right? Your tribal, the federal, and when you're involved with the state, we're with the state. And the other purpose is to train new VR counselors and support staff. The Avers Program Directors Toolkit was developed collaboratively with veteran directors of Avers program and AIVRTTAC personnel. And at this time, I would like to acknowledge them. I'd like to acknowledge the AIVRTTAC team, our wonderful leader, Dr. Lee Gashioma, Dr. Daryl Joseph, became a doctor while he was working hard here, helping us, Wayne Dagel, Winona Reed, 2 new important pluses in our team. John McDermott, as you heard him today. Arden Day, Kelly Roberts, Jesse David Zarowski, she's behind the scenes and always helping out, and Kelsey Page Vaughn. We have some of the behind the scenes people that give us a lot of support. The drafters of the toolkit, Lee Gashioma, Marcus Spino, Daryl Joseph, Carol Berquist, Wayne Dagel, Michelle Wilson, Paula Sinez, and myself, Suzanne Malson. And the editors of the toolkit, we had Dr. Tom Finch, the former RSA Director of Training and Services Program Division, August Martin, Sonia Turner, your Avers program project officers, Kristen Reinhardt, she is the AIVRTTAC, our project officer, Kelly Roberts, the AIVRTTAC principal investigator, and Cindy Beckman is the IHD AIVRTTAC project editor. I think she has another title, but we'll go with that one. We want to thank you all. We couldn't do this without you, so thank you. We want to look at our next slide that's going to bring us to the structure of the webinar 1 and 2 and the talking circle, which is coming up, which we really hope all of you will participate in. The toolkit has 4 sections being presented to the Avers community through 2 webinars. Webinar 1, which you've already experienced, and it's already archived for you. And if you did not attend, we're recommending that you visit the website so that you can hear the first one and then be prepared to be involved with the talking circle. Webinar 2, the state and federal, that's today with Wayne and myself. And the 2 webinars, as we've been stating for a while now, will be followed by a talking circle. And we really, really want you to participate in that talking circle because it's going to be different. What you're experiencing now is a little bit more one way, where Daryl and Winona presented one way with as much interaction as possible, and Wayne and I will be doing the same thing. We're hoping that this particular webinar is a little bit more interactive, but we really want the talking circle to be very interactive. So hence all of the training on how to do and finite everything. I'd like to turn this next part over, and if there are any questions, please keep them in the chat box for us. I'd like to turn the next part over to Wayne while I give my voice a rest because my tongue isn't seeing what my eye tooth is saying here. So I'm tripping over myself. Anyway, Wayne, take it off. Thanks.
All right, so what you're seeing on the screen now is the web page that shows the Director's Toolkit the first 90 days. And we're going to look at we're going to walk through the steps and go through it together. First, what we're going to want you to do is go to the website. And John's going to be doing that as we go. So you can just Google AIVRTTAC. We pop up. We're the first one. We're going to go to Toolkits. And under Toolkits, you'll see the page that was on the PowerPoint. So we're going to go ahead and then start going through the state section. Okay, so as we go through this, we're going to be in the smaller screen, split screen like this. If anybody has any troubles getting to that, please put it in the chat box or interrupt us, and we'll slow down and make sure everybody's on the same page as us, because we want to have you guys following along, because as we get down into some of this stuff, we're going to start asking some questions and participating in some activities. All right, so again, go to the website. Once you find us, click on the toolkits, or on the toolkit drop-down menu, and then select state, and it'll take us to where we are on this page now, state vocational rehabilitation agencies. Okay, so John, will you walk through that again for everybody? Go to Google. And again, all you have to do is type in AIVRTTAC, or the first ones that come up. Click on that. Click on our toolkits. Click on state, and then we're ready to go. Okay, so as we're going through here, we're going to look at the different components of the website, and we have the state vocational rehabilitation agencies. And this is really just the brief introduction of the state VR system and the different agencies that are involved. And you'll see in the links, and all these links are in the red font. You'll see the first one is the RSA website. So if we'll click on that, that'll pull up RSA's website. And it's a direct link to getting into RSA and looking up the information as we go. It gives you the RSA's mission, the WIOA information. Specifically, you got some stuff about your state and what's new in RSA, the programs that are available, grants and funding, and then any orientation, technical assistance that they can provide for the state VR directors. Now we don't, and then the annual reports are also in there to Congress. So this is geared more towards just the general information of RSA. If you go back to the state or to our website, if you scroll down a little bit further, John, you'll see the next red link, which is the CSA VR and the state agencies link. This gives us good information on the local states and who is a representative and who is involved in your state, so you can start reaching out and networking and developing those contacts through the states.
Wayne, excuse
Yes.
me, in the chat box, Sharon Patterson, not sure how we leave the meeting to sign on to Google. Maybe you don't have to. Might be something that you'd want to do later. You want to talk about that, Wayne?
Yeah.
Address that, you and John.
So if you go, if to do that, you can go up to the view options. If you move your mouse at the top of the screen, you'll see the view option drop down menu. You can get out of the full screen and it'll take you to a half screen. And then if you click on your web page or your web browser, it'll pull up a page and you can minimize that screen and you can look at the two together like what John is showing us on the screen now in the Zoom meeting. And then you can work from both screens or back and forth. You can minimize it so we just become a little box in the corner, and then you have the full screen to work with. Did I cover that, John?
Yep, I believe you have everything covered. The important part is the view options and select what size screen that you want, and then you can do anything from there. Open a document, open the PDF for this slide deck, or go to a website.
And for those that don't want to do that, you can just follow along on the screen with John and I. And we also are recording this, so it'll be archived. So we can walk you through it again at a later time. Or you can reach out to any of the staff at AIVRTTAC and we can walk you through it as well. Okay, so back to our page, John. If you look further down, we have eCFR in the red link. That takes us to the eCFR. So this is what starts talking about the regulations. and it automatically comes to this screen, which I always found very confusing. So over on the left side of the screen, you'll see browse or search. I always click, or excuse me, the search is at the top of the screen. On mine, it was at the side. You just type in there the CFR that you're looking for, and you pull it up that way, or you can go through 361, 371, all that language. You can look through all of it. 361 governs the state VR services. We are modeled, Avers programs, the grant language states that we are modeled after that. The only thing that in the provision of services that separates us is the culturally appropriate services, as we all know. So the general structure of the service provision can be found in 361. The scope of services, the allowable cost, all of that information is in 361. That's why it's important to the delivery of services for the Avers programs. 371 defines what the Avers programs stand for as far as through culturally appropriate services and in the provision of those culturally appropriate services to their area. We have the ability to define what those services are and in a traditional connection with those services. You got anything to add to that, Suzanne, or are we good?
I think we're good. Am I on mute? Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay. I had a thought, and then I'm just going to let it go for now. And thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
So on the PowerPoint, John, we can go ahead and go to the next slide. And this is just, again, the directions, the written directions of what we just covered. On number 3, we have a question that relates to what we just chatted about. Are the Avers programs guided by the ECFR Title 34, Part 361? If you can write your answer in the chat box, that'd be great. And maybe give a little brief explanation why you think it is or isn't. So what is, and question number 4 is after the state VR agencies topic heading, what is the next topic heading? If you'll also put that in the chat box as well, please. All right, John, back to the web page. If we'll go down to the Council of State, oh, keep going down, sorry. It's the State Rehab Council. I want to talk about that real quick. So if you look here under state rehab councils, we put this in here because it's very important that our Avers programs have the representation on the state rehab councils. If you look at the regulations, it states that we are supposed to be, every director is supposed to be on the state rehab council representing the tribal VR programs in the state. This is how we make sure that our needs are being met in the partnership with the state, and that we are being recognized as a partner and not just another service provider or another way for, I gotta think how I state this so it's not inappropriate, not another way to get around providing those services to our people. So we're a partner, we work together, and we want to make sure that our voice is heard in the decisions made within the state rehab council to support the state VR system and the MOUs, which is the part that we're going to go back to. If you go up now on the website, John, a little bit more, right there, the state VR and Avers memorandum of understanding. The MOU between the state and the Avers program is very critical because that outlines what each program is going to be. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat box popping up on my screen. So the MOU is what defines and establishes that role between the state and the VR or the Avers program. It identifies who's going to do what with which service that's being provided. And it also is where you outline the pre-employment transition services that the states can provide, getting them out into the reservation areas. It also outlines how the state is going to support your cases, as far as if the funding is not provided the next year, what happens to the cases that are in the IPE status? Is the state going to be willing to take those cases on and provide those support services for those cases that are already open? All that is covered under the MOU. So it's very important that we establish that between our programs and the states that we work with. It sounds really simple to do. We all understand that sometimes it's very difficult to get the state to come to the table and have a mutual agreement. So in that situation, we encourage you to reach out to your Avers family, talk to other program directors, talk to AIVRTTAC, and figure out how they did their MOUs and how they were able to get those established with the states. On this website, if you look further down on the right above the Client Assistance Project, we have red links and we have examples of MOUs that have been developed. We have one from Wisconsin, we have one from Washington and Oklahoma. So it's good just to see the other MOUs that are out there. If you're having a difficulty with any of your state team, I guess is the way to put it, or collaborative partner in developing this. Okay, John, now we can go down to the Client Assistance Project, or CAP. In some states it's called a Client Assistance Program, Project, whatever, it's CAP. And the basis of CAP is to provide our consumers with another level of advocacy. A lot of people view this relationship as adversary. It doesn't have to be. You can develop a good positive relationship with the CAP program in your state. They are there to advocate, and if they're an appropriate advocate, they also are willing to say no to the consumer. It's not just a headhunting program that comes after you when the consumer wants something. Speaking from experience, I've had both experiences with the CAP program in my state. So we want to make sure that you guys understand what CAP is about, how to contact them in your state, and some of the services that they can and do provide. And it's all focused around advocacy for our consumers getting their services. Okay, next slide, please, John.
We're not, just a point of information, not very many people answered any of the questions. So when you have time, please consider those questions and give us some answers. A shout out to Leanne Estrada and Jacqueline John for answering.
Okay. So this slide is talking about the state Avers and Avers partnership. I kind of went over already with a MOU and the SRC. So this is just kind of a quick cap or highlight of what we just covered. The provision of training and education from state VR agencies to the Avers program staff. While we are a separate program because we provide culturally appropriate services, the VR process is the same, whether it's state or Avers programs providing that VR process. So the training that can be put across from the state to the Avers program is very good, in the sense that it's been established through the state, and the process doesn't change. We have intake, we have eligibility, IPE development, service provision, and then case closure. All those things are the same process, the same speed at which it has to happen it's all similar. So to save money for the programs, we encourage you to contact your state VR agencies and to develop that training and education relationship with them. That's part of the partnership. The state VR agency is mandated to serve all people in their state with disabilities. It's our responsibility to provide that cultural education to those state agencies when they do come out into our areas. It's good stewards of federal money if we can partner in some of these cases and share the greater cost with the state, so they can cover what they agree to, such as tuition for college. Then we provide the services that support that educational journey. So it's very important to develop those partnerships so we can spread our funds out further and further to the people that need it. And they're supposed to be serving us anyways. We all know that we're either underserved or not served at all. And so it's good to start to pull some of that funding out to our areas. We also understand that serving tribal communities effectively, we need that partnership, because our cultural knowledge and traditional knowledge of our areas are what will level the playing field to the state VR system. A lot of our people are very anxious or nervous to be around state employees because of the history with tribes and state government. So we can bridge that gap and become that tool that allows the partnerships to develop. And all that is guided under the 371 regulations, which sets apart AIVRS programs from the state VR program. Next slide. Again, we talked about the State Rehab Council and the importance of having AIVRS directors joining those. Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, that's developed between the program and the state. It's a binding working relationship. I know several programs that do the full 5 years in one setting. I know other programs that do an annual agreement. So it's kind of whatever works for you in your program and with your state. And I know a couple states, it's a group of the AIVRS programs getting together and creating the MOU that then is implemented across all the programs. And it'd be interesting to see if there's more success with that, or if the individual approach is more successful. So that's some information that I want to find out also. The client assistance program, we talked about how they can help the program and how their advocacy is important for tribal members with disabilities and consumers as well. Next slide. Okay, so that brings me to the point where I get to give you guys some homework. Or not homework, I guess it's just an exercise. Let's call it, because homework sounds so negative. On this slide, we have a little problem that we threw out there. The AIVRS director, program manager, received a complaint from the consumer about his VR counselor and the service he is not receiving. So here's the details I want you guys to mull over real quick. The consumer wants to fix his vehicle. We've never heard that issue on the reservation. We need to fix a vehicle. In my area, it was always the transmissions. I don't know why the trannies were always the part that went out on the vehicle the most. The cost of the repair is $3,000. The value of the vehicle is only $4,500. The VR counselor denied payment for the entire repair cost. The consumer informed the director that he is seeking outside assistance from the state to resolve the denial of payment. Okay, so there's the details. Here's the question. Next slide. What is the state program or agency to which the consumer is referring? And then can you tell me what?
Somebody please answer in the chat box.
Or even chime in.
Yeah.
Just click the microphone or unmute, and if you can holler at me if you want. And then can you tell me what regulation or CFR is associated with automobile repair? Nobody wants to talk? You guys are all typing.
Well, one of the things, if we look at, you had just talked, and we talked about the toolkit and where to find things. So everybody put your thinking cap on. What was the last agency that Wayne talked about? Sometimes we fear them. Should we have a guessing game? What is that? The charades? Oh, it's one word. No, it's two words.
We're getting quite a few answers in here. That's good.
Are you? I'm not seeing, my answers aren't coming up.
And I'm getting a real nice mix of answers. This is really what I was hoping would happen. So we have CAP, we have state VR, CAP, DVR,
Oh, here we go.
social services. Those are some of the answers that we're getting. So I like the mixture.
Well, there might be some that are, there might be some that are answering something else.
So what I'm seeing is the mixture of the answers makes a lot of sense to me because one, we are trained from the beginning in Avers programs to be problem solvers and to seek comparable benefits, right? So if there's a lot of people that are putting down state VR, DVR, social services. Those are all seeking answers in our comparable benefits category, which is great. The answer to this one is CAP because they are seeking advocacy outside to dispute their denial of the service provision. So they're going to be asking CAP to come in and help them in completing that request for review or process that the Avers program has in place. That's where CAP's going to be involved. I do like the answers of state VR and DVR because that shows that you're looking outside of the box. You're wanting to find comparable benefits. It's not that it's just a straight no, but we're trying to figure out how to help this individual. So I'm gonna. I know you're gonna say something, Suzanne. So I'm gonna look at if anybody's answered the regulation question while you.
Okay. Yes, I wanted to ask another question that goes along with it. This consumer that's very disenchanted with your Avers program is going to CAP. And I always viewed CAP as a partner, somebody that I could depend on if I had a problem or a question. I could go and seek some answers because they do have the answers since they're going to be advocating for consumers. The next step is, do you all have a fair hearing process? And if you do have one, is it verbal or is it in writing? Is it something that is an actual policy that you have? And why do you think you need, and why do we need a fair hearing process? I'm going to throw it out there. I'd like somebody to talk about it. I don't want to just hear my voice. I might call on people that I know. I don't know the larger our population, our family, our Avers family is growing, but I'm going to call on some veterans that I know are out there that might be able to give me an answer. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Carol Berquist, Mary Maruvia, Casey, Shelley, hello, unmute. Aw, I'm gonna cry.
So, John, will you go back to the ECFR link? Okay, so to answer the second question, we're going to let that percolate for a little bit, Suzanne, because I think
Okay.
people they're scared of the microphone. So we're going to let them think
Okay.
about it for a little bit and build
All
up their
right.
courage. So let's move to the regulation associated with the automobile repair. So in the comments, we got regulation 57, we got CFR 361.47, record of services. And Amanda has just typed in the question, what is the question for veteran directors? So Suzanne, will you repeat
Yes.
that real quick?
And actually, I'm putting it in the chat box too.
Okay.
So it's the fair hearing. You know, do you have a fair hearing process? And what is the importance of a fair hearing process? You
Okay.
have a consumer that's disenchanted. What is their other, what is your internal tribal process, not the state?
So John, let's go ahead and type in 361.47, please. So this pulls up all the CFR. So I did that on purpose because I wanted you guys to see that you do have to have the 34 in front of the CFR when you put in that number. So if you'll please, John, go back and put 34 CFR 361. And as you can see right now, it's really frustrating. Using the search engine, I hate it. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, it's frustrating because it can never. I always do the same thing. It's like 7 tries to get to the product I'm looking for. When you do get it, though, it pulls it right up at the top, so you can click on the first one that comes up, and we'll read that one. So, Suzanne, you're getting some responses in your in the chat box from your question.
Yes, I am, and thank you. They do have, some of you have a process. If you have a process, is it verbal only, or do you have it in writing? That would be the other thing. Is it a policy? Somebody gave us special application 371.21, section I, small I. The complaint must be submitted in writing, and we have 10 days to set up a hearing with our director or manager. 34 CFR 371.6 under definitions for transportation. That's something else. Okay, but we're getting, so it looks like you do have policies, and you have a and you do have a tribal process, so that I know when I was a director, that was really important, and our tribal leader, the chairwoman, really wanted, even if the state intervened in any way, really wanted a tribal say, and that is the cultural piece, that the tribe should have the final say. So, and that has to be within reason. There has to be some education in there. Okay, thanks for answering the question. Thank you for allowing me to ask the question, Wayne.
Yep.
Yeah. So are we at the next phase? Looks like we're, so John, we need your assistance. We're going to go back to getting people into the federal, leaving the state and moving into the federal. And would you help us with that verbally as well?
No problem.
Thank
You can
you.
just kind of go up to the top of the web page and click under Toolkits. I can click here for the main screen, or I can just kind of move my cursor down to Toolkit Federal.
Okay, I'm trying to get there. I'm in a real big learning curve here because, hold on a minute. I'm beyond my area of expertise. My colleague and my savior, my hero, Daryl ran down to my office to help me get my chat box up and running. First day with my new tongue. And thank you, Daryl. And I really wanted to do a shout out to Daryl and Winona and Lee, who are silently in the background. And please feel that you can chime in and help out at any point. Thank you. So we are on, what slide are we on? We're on slide 15 and for me, sorry. And so did everybody find their way into the federal toolkit? And as we are exploring the federal toolkit, the first thing you're going to see is there's a map of the Avers program. Please click on that first link. And the way it is spread out, you can see everything that's in red is a tribal program. So we heard from Shelley this morning over in New York. So if we click on New York, we can see that the Seneca Nation is there with, St. Regis Mohawk tribe with Shelley. And we heard from Sharon, and she's the Seneca Nation in New York. So I'd like all of you, I don't know whether you have time to go through it all right now, but would you look through and see if you can find the state you're in, and then see if you can't find your name, and make sure that your contact information is in there. And you could always type in the chat box and let us know if there is any mistakes. So if we look at the federal toolkit and we go down now to, oh mercy, we get out of the toolkit and now we are in the federal, and I keep going in circles. What's going on? I'm not getting to the AIVRTTAC. Daryl. Okay, here we are. Okay, so now we're down to the RSA and Avers mission statement. We're looking at the mission statement and the purpose statement. And the statements provide an understanding of the two VR agencies. It's designed to establish and maintain a healthy relationship to cooperatively serve tribal members with disabilities. So when you look at that statement and think about how, I know we use the statement and the purpose statement to create our goal. What is our goal, and what is the Avers mission and the Avers purpose? And there is a difference between the Department of Education, federal education mission statement, but their purpose for us is very clear and identifies what it is that they expect us to do. There are three major reasons an Avers director program manager. So if forgive me, this is a little challenging. So we've looked at the RSA and Avers mission and vision statement. The next title is communication between RSA, your project officer, and a new Avers program director. And as you can see, there are no links, there are no red links, but we do have a drop down, and the drop down shows the acting training and service program division executive director, which is Mary Lovely. But when we think about this whole section, there are three reasons why a manager must communicate with their assigned RSA project officer. And that is definitely in your federal toolkit. And if anybody knows the answer or can find the answer before I get there, what we're looking at are if you have an amendment to your grant proposal, you have to contact your project officer. When you have key personnel, you really want to make sure that your program director is notified, your project officer, because if you don't, then it's not recognized, and you can't get into any of the programs to do your annual reporting. So this is really an important reason to be contacting your project officer. And excessive unspent grant dollars, that's another reason to contact your project officer. So make sure that, and that is in the that is in the toolkit. And your homework would be to find those avenues, and here's the letter of assurance. We have the amendments to the Avers approved grant proposal. This would give you the reasons of why you needed to contact your project officer. So we look at the next slide, and your communication with your, we still have, as you go through the federal toolkit, you're looking at the Avers key personnel. This is the key personnel piece. And you're looking at required reporting to, let's go back up to the communication piece. And RSA conference calls are important because, and there is this whole section that gives why. So can anybody give me any ideas of why you would need to participate with the in conference calls? Can we have some answers? Wayne, you want to help me out here? It's slide 17.
Yeah.
We should have slide 17 up there.
So when I think about this, I think about not necessarily what I can provide in the conference calls. It's what the conference calls provide me, and that's getting the updated information directly from RSA, so that I know that I'm implementing the grant correctly, that I'm following the guidelines they set forth. So it's really about staying in the loop and creating that relationship with RSA. They are our monitoring body. They provide us the oversight and guidelines to operate in our grants. And a lot of times I think that creates a very scary relationship for some people. So I really encourage that you stay in connection with your RSA project officer, and doing the conference calls is one of those steps of keeping that connection viable. And it allows you to develop that positive relationship instead of only being contacted when you are getting the hammer dropped.
Or go to RSA jail, as Carol Berquist used to say.
Right. So
thank you.
It's very important to keep that positive relationship development through these calls and emails and whatnot.
Right. And I always appreciated the guidance that I received, and found it as a learning opportunity. And a lot of times those learning opportunities, you're given PowerPoint slides, and you're given directions on new any regulations that are coming up. So those conference calls are really important, and we appreciate the time. I know they used to be once a month, and then they've gone down to quarterly, I believe. So I think it's really important to, when they do have them, make sure that you participate. So the next thing, if we're looking at reports, so if you go down, John, all the way down to the bottom, the very last section are the reports, required reporting to Rehabilitation Services Administration, RSA. And it is every program director or program manager to provide accurate reports to RSA. This is your responsibility. It's a mandated, I think it's mandated. It's, and I'll be stand corrected for those things, but it does not fit well if you're not providing the reporting. Some of the things that you need for good reporting is some kind of data collection. So reports must be submitted on time. They must be accurate, and so that you're staying in compliance. And reports are necessary for obtaining continuation award. Your money may be held up if you don't submit your annual report. Your dollars may be held up for the year. So in other words, if you did not submit an annual report for 2018, you might not be getting your dollars for 2019, and you really don't want to put yourself in that situation. So in this area here on your toolkit, you will have this information in terms of what reports are required and how to go about doing them. So we're on the next slide. So we have a little, like Wayne presented a little scenario. So I'm going to present a little scenario for you.
Suzanne, before we jump into that, I have got a question on the chat box. Sharon asked, do we put together the conference calls or do they generate the call? The conference call that we're talking about, the annual, or not the annual, but the RSA conference call is quarterly. They hold that. It, like Suzanne stated, it used to be monthly. Now they've moved it to quarterly. They are the ones, RSA is the one that puts that call together. But if you're looking at developing that relationship specifically with your project officer, you can request a call with them at any time. We know they're incredibly busy and they've had some office stuff and stuff is changing there. So their response is a little delayed, but they will get back to you at some point.
Thank you, Wayne. Any other questions in the chat box that we need to pay attention to at this time? Okay, so if let's think about a scenario. You are a brand new director or program manager and a new recipient of an AIVRS program grant for your tribal nation. And you've been asked to write an AIVRS 6-month performance report for RSA. So what do? You don't know anybody. The only people you have in contact with is your project officer. So you're kind of in a bit of a situation, yes? So if you look under required reporting to Rehabilitation Services Administration, there is a 6-month report in there. And it provides you the process. There's so if we go to the next slide, there are questions. But if we look, and if you continue to look at your the PowerPoint, your the federal, oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to do too many things at one time. So you're in the federal toolkit.
Yeah, John, will you go up with on the web page so that's at the top? No. Stay in the 6 month is what I was looking for.
And there is the 6-month. Great.
Okay. Yep. Right there. Stop. Perfect. That way people can see it on the screen.
So what we're looking at is management information system is called MIS, and you need to be able to get into that. So you need to connect with RSA so that you can get into that. You are given a new grant, starts in October. The 6-month mark is March 31st of the first year of a newly grant. So if, say, you were just given a grant in 2018, March 31st of this year, you would be expected to have a 6-month report. RSA will notify each Avers program that is required. So it's not something that you need to be aware of it, but you also will be notified. And the 6-month report uses the same format as the annual performance report. So it's exactly the same thing. It doesn't require anything else. All you're doing is giving that 6 months. And what is in the 6-month report? They're asking you for, how many consumers did you serve? How many reached? How many have you placed successfully in employment? How many are in an education plan? So those are the kind of things that they want to know. The dollar amount. Are you within your budget? Are you doing your drawdowns and that sort of thing? So this is really an important piece. So we have found it, the slide that's up now, Federal Toolkit writing a 6-month report. The information, you know where to find it. The reporting process is right here. What are the required sections of the 6-month performance report? And they're all in here, right in that area, the 6-month report. So you shouldn't have any. And then you also, if you look down, you also have the annual performance report. And you look down a little bit further and you have the 5-year final performance report. And we have quite a few programs out there that are writing a new grant, writing a grant this year. So you will, once you submit that and you close, be prepared for a 5-year final performance report. And if you're a brand new program, you've never done this before, reach out to some of your, some of the veterans out there. They've been in VR for a long time. They've been in tribal VR for a long time. And they are the ones with the expertise. They're the ones that they can provide the stability and the information that you need. They're wonderful. Go to the KNAR Directors Talking Circle and try to identify who's been out there. On the listserv, ask, who's been there? I have a question. Use the different things out there to bring you to a point of feeling more confident about reaching out to our community. We have, Wayne, we've gone through everything rather quickly. It's 11:09 now, our time.
Before we go further, I want to back
Yes.
up real quick. When we talk about the 6-month report, a lot of new directors get confused between the 6-month and the annual performance report. You still have to complete an annual performance report
Yes.
after the 6 month. So the 6-month report is only in the first year. So the 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, and 5th year, you don't have to do a 6-month report. That's only required in the first year of the grant cycle. Just wanted to clarify that for people.
Thank you. Good clarification. But those of you that have had a grant before and are writing a new grant this year, when you get your new grant, you will be writing a 6-month report for that one. So, but thank you for pointing those things out, Wayne. That's really important. This is a strange phenomenon, this whole medium, missing the people to chat with and ask questions, and not having the experience of having 3 or 4 different windows open. So I thank you for your patience with me. This is the first webinar in this kind of context, and I'm feeling a little out there. Maybe before we move into the next section, which is going to be, Lee is going to provide us information on the toolkit. Maybe Daryl and Wayne could pop their picture up there and say a few words. Anything that you want to add to what we've talked about? You want to talk a little bit about the first webinar, the link between all of it. More than welcome to show your beautiful faces and smiles here so that so the entire team can say hi. So are you there? Can you do that? And maybe they're on mute.
Suzanne?
Yes, Lee.
Good morning, this is Lee.
Hi, Lee.
Well, we still have some time. I am interested in hearing from our audience.
Yes.
Do you have any questions or comments regarding the information that has been presented so far? Could you let us know if there is any particular section of today's webinar that you need additional clarification or information? Do you have a specific question for us? With the time that we have, I believe we can answer several questions, as well as taking your comments, your questions into consideration as we prepare for the talking circle.
Thank you, Lee. Great idea. So, is there, John, is everybody off mute? Did you take everybody off mute?
I just clicked the button, so everyone's off of mute.
Okay, so now that we're off mute, be sure to mute yourself so that we don't get a lot of feedback, but certainly please take Lee's invitation to provide us some comments. I don't see any hands. Anybody want to say something? Hello? Hi.
Okay.
This is
I-
Lisa with Pinoleville.
Who is it?
Lisa with Pinoleville.
Hi, Lisa. Welcome. Say something.
I just want to say a big, huge thank you for all of this, because I am finding this very exciting that I can have a place to go and have my questions answered. Being new, it's overwhelming, and this is going to allow me to hopefully sleep better at night.
Yes.
Lots of great information, and I think you did a fantastic job. Thank you.
You're very gracious. Thank you so very much. Appreciate hearing your voice, Lisa. Welcome to the family. I've so enjoyed meeting you and chatting with you in the past. So welcome.
Thank you.
We embrace you. The AIVRTTAC family, the AIVRTTAC and the Avers family says hi. Welcome. Anybody else? You're welcome, dear. Anyone else?
Hi, Suzanne. This is Carol.
Hi,
Burkhardt
Carol.
from Hannibal. I'm here with Casey. And I just want to compliment the AIVRTTAC team in terms of getting this all together. Having been a new director 20 years ago, I still remember the pain of trying to figure all this out. And it's really going to be amazing for people to have all this information in one spot, and especially with the discussion pieces, and then also with the click on, so you can go directly to the RSA site or the CSAVR site. And it's always been kind of difficult to maneuver and find those things yourself. So I just, make wish for all the work that you've done here.
Thank you so much, Carol. And Carol, thank you for all of the hours at night that you spent putting the state and federal. We were partners in putting this state and federal together, and we had a lot of editors and a lot of help, but a lot of nights. So thank you so very much. Good job. Thank you. Anyone else out there that wants to say hello? I see some people. I'm Amanda Ray. Hello. Say hello.
Hi, Suzanne. Hi,
Hi,
everybody.
Hi. So what's going on in Alaska and how is everything with you? And what did you want to add to our to today's conversation? Love to hear from you.
I am writing a grant this 5 years, and I got to see Winona and John McClure and some others, a whole bunch of other tribal members writing. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate these talking circles, and I do need to work on writing out a better fair hearing process. So I look forward to whatever Wayne can come up with, and
I have an old one that I might be able to share with you.
okay, great. I'm just trying to keep it simple in the grant. We do not have an advisory council. We depend on working with the clients, the consumers. If they're having a problem, then we need to reach out to them more. They need to know they can reach out to us. They
Right.
can bring a family member, they can bring a friend. We'll sit down and talk about it. And then as it, if it's resolved, great. If it's not, I can't remember what I called it, but that's how I wrote it up in the grant this last 2 times.
And you bring up something, the advisory committee. As you all know, it's not part of the regulations anymore. And AIVRTTAC has the advisory committee information for you on our AIVRTTAC website. Is that right, John? Is it up there now in the products? The advisory committee one?
Let me check real quick.
The advisory committee is not something that any of you have to do. And we had help from Sonia Turner and August Martin to make sure that the document was right. Writing, it's so hard to be writing our grants now without the capacity building team. And so all of us that aren't writing a grant, we send you good energy and light, and we'll keep you in our prayers so that you write a successful grant. It's going to be a tough year, and they're going to be harder and harder every year.
We call ours an action committee. So if a consumer has an issue, they call an action committee, and it could be as small as 3 people, 4. I mean, we'd probably try to keep it within 5 persons, but we definitely want the consumer to bring in either a natural support, a relative, a friend, a professional, and they can talk to the VR counselor, myself, resolve it. If they still can't resolve it, we can go to my director, and then her director if needed, and then the CEO of the company.
Okay.
But in all my years, I came after Jackie Bisbee during her time. We have not had a cap issue, and we have had it go all the way up to the president. Maybe twice since I've been involved in the VR. And that includes Jackie's time. So that's about a 20-year span.
All right. Thank you for sharing, Amanda.
But we don't have the funding. We don't have the funding to fly people in and have a big advisory council. Jackie did that, I think, for the first 2 grants, and we're just not able to sustain that.
No. And there's different ways. I think you might want to talk to Mary Maruvia about what she does as an advisory committee. Very creative. We're running out of time, so we need to invite Lee. It is up to you now to share about the talking circle. And thank you for all of you that participated in the chat box and verbally. Really appreciate hearing from you. Okay, Lee, you're on.
All right. Good morning again. As you can see on your screen, on March the 26th, we will have the talking circle that will give everyone an opportunity to share stories, to provide comments, to provide recommendation, to share your expertise regarding the toolkit. We have now completed the 4 sections of the toolkit specifically designed for the Avers program directors. We are calling this particular event Talking Circle. That is pretty close to what we consider the Western perspective of the community of practice. So we have tweaked the language to have it be more culturally relevant for our Talking Circle events for the remainder of the year. Some of you may have participated in a community of practice discussion. It's actually a forum where a particular topic is presented to the audience with facilitators leading the discussion. And with the Tribal Voc Rehab programs, our goal is to provide this opportunity for the Avers program, not just the directors, it's for all staff, including other individuals who may be a part of your project, for us to get together, provide an environment where we can talk about the challenges, the barriers that are being encountered by our American Indians with disability. To look at some of the challenges and tapping into the various expertise that is already out there. To look at these challenges and start defining, providing solutions to problems, also sharing knowledge of what has worked for particular projects or particular directors, and also tapping into our traditional knowledge of how we embrace and provide services for our individuals in our respective communities to become more engaged, to become fully integrated into the community activities, to be recognized and to celebrate these individuals' contribution to the communities. This quote that is part of the slide that you see up on the screen, I have seen before, and as I was working on these particular slides, this came back to me, and it reads, "Tell me and I'll forget. Show me and I may not remember. Involve me and I'll understand." And I believe that is what the AIVRTTAC project has been making efforts to do, to find a way to involve the Avers communities as part of the learning process. We appreciate what you share with us, so we too are learning from your experiences, your personal knowledge, your training, and it makes a whole lot of difference when we go on site and are provided a community tour of the reservation or the tribal communities. It certainly makes a big difference. Moving on to the next slide, as part of preparing for the Talking Circle on March 26th, this is what we're asking you to do and to answer the following questions. Please inform us if our website is easily accessible or our webinar platform is easily accessible. Are our instructions easy to follow, to navigate during the webinar? When you're looking through the various part of the toolkit, were you able to find some answers to some of your questions? Also, let us know if there is anything new that you have learned. Please share that with us. We also are very interested in learning from you. If at the time you learn something new, are you applying the new skill and knowledge? We are also interested in knowing whether or not the internet in your area is accessible.
Excuse
And-
me, somebody is, please mute your phone. We can hear some background talking. Thank you. Go ahead, Leah, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll start again. The last item, the last question. We want to know if the internet, the technology in your area is accessible for you to participate in our webinars or other events. Or does it become necessary to move to a different location within your building to join the AIVRTTAC? We want to take all those into consideration, and with John's help, try to find ways to accommodate everybody's needs. Moving on to slide number 23. We're adding a little bit of humor by saying that not participating in the talking circle after 2 webinars is like wearing your underwear outside your jeans. It just does not make sense.
So,
I hope you get it. I hope you're chuckling out there.
I am.
So again, we welcome each and every one of you. We strongly encourage you to invite your support staff that may not be on today's call. If you have a chance to talk with other directors, whether within your state or out of state, please inform them of this exciting event that will be taking place. We will be sending out follow-up information regarding registration. So we look forward to talking with you again on March the 26th. Suzanne?
Yes, thank you so much, Lee. You have such a wonderful way of reaching the heart. I appreciate your leadership and your beautiful heart. Thank you. We're talking about follow-up questions now, and we want to know about you, okay? So list a few examples of something new you learned during the webinar. I learned a lot every time I am involved in everything. I'm hoping the next time I'll show a little bit more professionalism and not slip over things, because I have 3-4 windows open and it's like, wow, this is a new. I struggled with one years ago. So number one, a repeat, list a few examples of something new you learned during this webinar. What topics do you recommend we discuss during the talking circle? Now, this is really important. The whole process, the idea of what we were doing in webinar 1 and webinar 2 today is not only giving you a tour through the AIVRTTAC website so that you can find things. Remember that this website is yours. It's your tool. The whole site is about you. It's about the communication, whatever we learn when we have talking circles together, the first ones that Lee and I participated in 2016 up until now. It's all documented here, and we want to be able to share that with you. And so we're inviting you to please look at it and give us feedback. So the talking circle, think about the things that you're doing well, the things that you excel in, and how we can come together, because we're going to really explore something different the next time, because it's not going to have, it's going to be us talking together like we're in a big room together. So think about how you want to talk, what you want to share. And number 3, what do you think are the hardest aspects of being an Avers director or a staff member? And think about, can you share any of that? You know, we have a chat box here, and we're now able to do verbal. Somebody willing to give us something verbal that that you might want to share? What is the hardest part about working in your tribal communities, serving your people with disabilities? for me, it was always, you know, finding the voice. I felt my responsibility. That's why the SRC, joining the SRC is so important, because so many times at the Silk or the SRC, they would talk about unserved population, and yet the American Indian and Alaska Native populations were never mentioned. And it was my responsibility to be the voice. And I hope, and it was hard, and it was the responsibility was, it's inside. It's not something that it's not something that on a piece of paper. It's something, you know, you have to be the voice. So what is somebody else's? Somebody share what was something hard in your community?
Actually, Suzanne,
We're running out of time.
yeah, we're out of time here. So if you guys will
Sorry.
answer those 3 questions in the chat box, that'd be great.
Thanks.
John, will you go to the next slide?
Thank
So
you.
here's the web or the archive links, and we'll have the new link for this one coming up. Please register for the next talking circle at the link provided, and I think John already put that into the chat box. But we will be sending out that information as we get closer. You'll see the same flyers like what you saw for these webinars in the series up to this point. You'll see another one coming out for the talking circle. Go ahead and go to the next slide, John. We want to shout out to the RSA people that support us, both for the Avers project officers and our own project officer and our current acting director. Thanks for all the support that you give us in the provision of services to our tribal members who are disabled. We really appreciate that guidance and support. All right, John. And in the final slide, please take the evaluation. We really appreciate this, and we want to know what we're doing right, what we're doing or could do better, because I don't like to be negative saying we aren't doing stuff right. Let's look at what we can do better, what we're doing good, and gooder. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
All right, so remember, people, take the evaluation. Thank you for your time, and don't wear your underwear outside your pants. Join us for the talking circle.
Hey, Wayne.
Oh.
Wayne and Suzanne.
Yeah, pardon me?
Just really quickly, I want to share with everyone that I'm also sending out the link to the survey to your email addresses. So if you haven't had a chance to click on a link through the Zoom, I will send it through email, and please complete that. That's so helpful to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for participating, and we look forward to working with you and providing services to all your programs so we can get our disabled tribal members, our tribal members with disabilities services, and help them move forward in their journey.
Absolutely. Thank you. We appreciate everyone. We appreciate everything that you're doing for all of us. Thank you.
Quick.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Big hugs. Big shout out.